I'm going to start my presentation. So today, I'd like to explain about the two things. So what PMs do in Mercari and the learning through the product management in Mercari. I think that today there are a lot of people attending and maybe a student is also attending. So I hope that my presentation gives some more idea like what is the PMs and how it's like working in Mercari. And at first, I would like to explain what PMs do in Mercari, but it's really varies by people. So maybe having a chat with the QA session maybe helps to hear from other PMs in Mercari. At first, I'd like to have a self-introduction. So I started my career in Mercari. So I joined Mercari as a new graduate. By the way, everyone call me as Kim-chan in this company. And at first, I started my career at Sozo, which is the group company of Mercari. And at first, I was in charge of the Mercari Maisons, the completely different app, but which focus on luxury items. And for 1 year, I have been developing this app. But after 1 year, this app was being decided to close. Then I moved to Mercari JP. And I was in charge of category growth, which is mainly I worked on CRM, so in-app marketing. And I was in charge of push notification and the banner inside the app. And next, I moved to the growth dev and buyer UX team, which is developing the growth feature. And for example, I developed this bulk discount feature so the customer can easily change their price, and also auth-like function. So if customer are interested in some kind of items and they go to purchase screen but drop somehow, then we promote customer to like the item so that they can find easily afterwards. And next, from last year, I moved to the new business team, and I was in charge of this cross-border projects. This project is that customer from outside of Japan can access to Mercari item. They can actually purchase Mercari items. This project was we had a partnership with outside company, which is called as Abai. So customer outside of Japan can purchase Mercari items through Bai. And currently, I'm in the new business fashion team, and I'm working on this coordinated outfits feature right now. And from March, I became the manager of this fashion team. So this was a quick explanation of myself. And next, I'd like to explain about what PMs do in Mercari. And this is really my personal definition. So I believe that the PMs have basically 3 roles. One is planning, which we create spec based on hypothesis. And the another one is direction. So we do project management and also cooperate with all the stakeholders. And the third one is the data analysis. We have a business intelligence team inside company. So PMs and BI will work together, but PMs also do data analyzing and create hypothesis. And I like to show the one example case which I worked on before, which is the bulk price down feature. So this feature is if items are not sold out for certain times, for example, 1 week or 2 weeks, then we recommend to change the price. And before this feature was made, customer have to go to the item detail page and edit, and then they have to decide the price by themselves. And after that, they can finally change the price. But this feature will support price down with one tap. And also we suggest the good price, which can high enough but easily sold out. And in this feature, first I did data analyzing. So from the quantitative data, I found that the price down items had much higher sell-through rate. Sell-through rate is the how much it's easily sold out. So if item is priced down, it's easily sold out. However, only middle or heavy customer do change their item price. So that based on these findings, I make a hypothesis that if we can make it easier for customer to change their price, then it can increase the sales rates for light customer. And based on this hypothesis, I conducted a survey to Mercari customers. So we send a push notification to our customer and conducted survey in order to identify if light customer potentially wants to sell items, even lowering the price. And from this survey, I found that the answer was yes. Customer feel that it was really troublesome of changing the price. And they also hope to sell items, even lowering the price. And afterwards, I conducted the concept check. This actually, I invited customers to the office and conducted the interview. And the first concept check was conducted in order to identify how they want to change their price. There was a few options. For example, one is like a customer set minimum price by themselves when listing item, and Mercari automatically change the price gradually. Or they can turn on dynamic pricing and they don't set any minimum price. So the price will go down until the item is sold out. The third option was that after 1 or 2 weeks later, after listing, customer will get suggestion to change the price to the suggested price. And we found that the third option was most suitable. And after that, we conducted another concept check and also conducted a usability test with mock images. And we tried to identify how much price they want to change. If it is too big, they don't want to. But if it is too small, item won't be sold out. So we try to identify how much is acceptable for customer to change. And this is the image that how I conducted the concept concept test. And after collecting these information, the next is planning. So this is the image I actually created. But so I create the draft of spec, and which describes what is the must feature and what is want feature. And after that, I work together with designers to decide UI, and also work together with engineers to decide what is the realistic ways to implement, and also discuss about wants and must. And also work together with business intelligence members and about test planning. We determine KPIs and A/B test schedule and logging, or also we identify possible scenarios after A/B test. So with the result, what kind of decision making can be made, this all needs to be decided while speaking. And after conducting this process, finally we fix the spec. And the next is direction. Yes. So I think that PM always needs to become the hub for all information. So while the project is going, any spec change will happen. Also, estimation change will happen, and broker will come up. And I believe that PM needs to know all the information and connect all the members. And also, I believe that clarifying the dependency between multiple developers is really important job for direction. And also remove those, if there's any potential blocker, identify it and remove is important. And after the development process, we finally release this feature. And again, after the release, we come back to the data analysis again. So the result of this feature was quite good. So total sales lifts a lot, and also the sales through rates for item which price down actually increased a lot. However, we found that the feature usage unique user is still not big enough, but this was what we already expected. So the panel of the banner tap rates and price down rate was not that bad as we expected, but the traffic to this screen itself was limited as we expected. So that next action is that we need to think about how to increase the traffic to this screen. And moreover of the data analyzing, sometimes we check Twitter to easily access the customer's insight. Yes, so the next is the learning through the product management in Mercari. So I think that what we do can be explained with these three inputs, outputs, and outcome. I think input is the resources, how much story points we consume. And output is the features we create. And it can combine, it can be made with requirements and quality. And with this feature, we can make an outcome, which is often sales or learnings. So I think the PM or PO's responsibility, the first responsibility is that with smaller input and create a bigger outputs. And in order to achieve this, I believe that the productivity, keeping the high productivity is really important. And especially for PMs, I believe that PM have a responsibility that communicating well about why we need to develop this feature and how much it's important. I think that keeping the high productivity, that it's really important that all team members sympathize and understand well why it is important. And yes, and also from my experience, there are a lot of experience that that we want to release a feature as an early time, but it's really difficult to shorten the time. And I think that PMs need to remember that shorten time should be the trade-off with requirements or quality. We should not expect the time is overwork from engineers. There's one message that I really like is that the right process and the right people will always read the right products. So I think that PMs, from my experience, I often face the situation that the first target was, for example, we're gonna release this feature at the end of this month, but afterwards, after the estimation, we found that it's difficult to deliver until the end of this month, and we have to postpone the schedule. A PM often thinks that we want to release as scheduled, but at that time, we have to make sure that we cannot expect any overwork from team members, but we have to trade off of requirements or quality. So decreasing the requirements to fit in the time span, or we just postpone the time, or we have to change the priority. Yes. And the next, second important responsibility of PMs is that smaller outputs create bigger outcome. And important thing is that outcome is not the only sales, but also learnings. So for example, when we conduct A/B test, sometimes we just tend to judging whether A/B test was good or bad and whether to open or close. But important thing of conducting A/B tests is that checking if hypothesis was right or wrong. And from this result, we have to learn. So not only sales, but also learning is pretty important. And also, in order to make a bigger outcome with smaller outputs, remember that always higher sales can be made if feature is targeting the majority of people. So I think the feature is targeting majority of people or minority of people. That kind of sense is really important for PMs. And also another thing is that we have to, in order to make a bigger outcome, targeting high traffic screen is very efficient. Yes, so these are the two important responsibility of PMs or POs. Yes, so these are really a brief explanation and introduction, but I hope that we can have a deeper and more feedbacks from audience after inside these events. Thank you so much.